are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, we made it through the preseason. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. You know, it's you get stages, right? You get the very fake football, the kind of a little bit less fake football, and now we've made it through all this, and it's time for the real thing. And I'm excited. You know, we've gotten through these preseason games. We're gonna have cut downs on Tuesday.
Yep.
We're getting something close to a real football team going to be formed before the end of the week.
So we're going to talk about this Cowboys preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, their fourth preseason game. But I want to tell you, Landon, I did not get a chance to watch this game live. I went back and rewatched it later, but I asked people on Twitter, I said, hey, do I need to watch this game? How exciting is it? And the responses are just as you would imagine. This was not the most exciting preseason game in the world to watch, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you had to watch it, like I told you, because we got to talk about it today on the podcast. So I'm glad that you did. But I mean, outside of us and people that are kind of trying to form their own 53-man rosters, there wasn't a ton for the kind of very common football fan that's just turning in to watch a game of football.
So do you want to start with the good or the bad?
Where does one begin and one end, frankly?
Let's start with the quarterbacks, because that's okay. I think what people maybe care about. I got to be careful on the words I use. So Cooper Rush started. He played a drive, correct? Was it 2 drives? I don't know.
I think it was 2 drives. But
drives. That's how unimportant they were. 2 drives for Cooper Rush, and then Garrett Gilbert played, and then we get to see Ben DiNucci. So what were your thoughts on the quarterback play in this game, as usual?
Well, you know, we talked about it before the game. This was going to be tough. I mean, this was really going to be tough. It's tough that they're trying to use this as evaluation for who the backup
they shouldn't.
Is.
Maybe they aren't really.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, I think Gilbert looked better, but that's simply because, you know, he was more willing to kind of put the ball wherever to, you know, allow somebody to have make a play, whereas Cooper Rush was, you know, more conservative, threw the ball away a couple times. And, you know, I think the other thing too that really made this difficult in general, just kind of taking a step back, was that Jacksonville was playing, you know, if not their starters, then their key reserves.
Well, I mean,
most spots.
Josh Allen was playing in this game, right? We saw Taven Bryan was playing in this game. Miles Jack was playing in this game. So, like, they were playing a lot of their first team defense, if you can even really call it that.
And the Cowboys definitely were not playing even their second team offense. I mean,
no,
we didn't have, you know, Inseki wasn't out there, so it was Knight at tackle. You had Steele, but you also had McGovern in there. You had
Brandon, or you didn't even have Cedric Wilson or Noah Brown playing, right? You didn't even have Sean McEwen, your third string tight end, playing. It was rough.
Going back to like the original thought process here, like our whole thesis last week was that if we're talking about who's the best to put out there with the ones and facilitate the offense, that we thought that Cooper Rush was that guy. He was a bus driver. You have a talented offense that he can rely on. Mm-hmm. And as long as he can kind of just keep the offense running in a smooth way without giving the ball away, that would be enough. Obviously, that is not what we got to witness on Sunday, because he was surrounded by, you know, like the scrubs he had been playing with previously, and going against Jacksonville's number one defense, which, you know, I mean, it may not be the most impressive defense in the league, but it's still their first team defense versus our, you know, second and in some case third team offense. So it wasn't a great evaluation for Rush or Gilbert. I would say that Gilbert looked better than Rush, but I also think that this is not, you know, watching this game confirmed to me that this should not have been the method for evaluating which one of these two would be a better backup quarterback. I still am not sure that, the starting quarterback or the backup quarterback is definitely on this team at this point. And this game wasn't really going to help kind of solve that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the Cowboys do at the quarterback position over the next couple of days. It sounds like they may trade for one who actually has more passes than either of these guys, Johnny Hecker. We'll talk about that maybe. Wow. Yeah, maybe in the next couple of days. But I just don't care. Like, honestly, like if you're using this preseason game to evaluate and decide who's your backup quarterback, you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
How they play against Jacksonville with complete backups in the game versus what they do on the thousands of other throws they make in practice. You're just doing it wrong. So I don't really care. I thought it was fine. Obviously, Cooper Rush didn't play well. Garrett Gilbert shows you he's talented, but I like Bob Sturm's comp. He said that Garrett Gilbert's processing speed is about the same as dial-up internet, and I really like that. That feels about right. So I want to get into some more winners and losers because you got to scrape hard to find some winners, but I do think there are some, especially one defensive tackle. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you guys about North One. It's better banking for small business owners. Serving small business owners is all they do. North One allows you to manage your money from anywhere, whether you're at home or on the go. Everything you need to manage your business finances at your fingertips. Never step foot in a bank again. In addition to the features you'd expect, like mobile check deposit, cash withdrawals, and the ability to send and receive wire payments, North One is an FDIC insured account that you can save both time and money. With North One, you'll never pay overdraft fees again, saving you hundreds of dollars per month. To get started, visit apply.northone.com/locked. That's applynorthone.com/locked. I also want to tell you guys about Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports action. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of the sports, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, boxing. They have all your favorite casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Landon, let's talk about the good. Justin Hamilton, he's a nice little player, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had a great training camp. I mean, he's just shown you throughout the camp that he belongs. He's not making plays, but he's making the plays they're there for him, right? And we've seen him a lot, and we saw it a lot in this game, being used in combination with Quinton Bohanna, right? Like in a kind of a two-man heavy defensive line it's like a 3-4 except with two down linemen instead of three, right? And so, I think that we've kind of seen him have a role in this team. He made a couple plays in this game last night. I just think, again, we talked about steady drumbeat. This guy looks like down the roster rotational defensive tackle. And hasn't been bad in any stretch. He's been solid throughout, which is, I think, is more than you can say for a lot of people.
So according to Pro Football Focus, he was actually their highest graded player in this game against Jacksonville. He recorded I'm reading the numbers right now, 4 pressures, 3 hurries, 1 quarterback hit, 2 stops, and 1 forced fumble. So, I mean, that's a pretty solid game from a guy that, a lot of people didn't even have on their 53-man rosters at the beginning of preseason. So I'm not saying he's going to be a starter, but if he has to come into the game, I don't think you're feeling bad about that, right?
He's going to play. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy that probably plays every week in a couple different snaps. And no, I think I feel pretty solid about him. He's got some NFL experience over the last 2 years with the Cowboys, and he's just grown. Like he's just looks like he's gotten to be a better football player. He's, like you said, he's making plays. He's not just a part of them. He's not just stopping things up. He's able to get through the line and actually, like you said, cause pressures. The way he punched that football out in the forced fumble was really impressive on, near the goal line, saved them basically a touchdown with that play. I thought that he showed that he is kind of a step above these guys and that he belongs in a rotation of guys that play, not a ton of snaps each day, but they play, week to week.
They're going to need him, right? Because they just don't have that many numbers at the position, especially with Gallimore and Tristan Hill out. They're going to need him, and I think he's going to be a fine player. Another guy that I thought played really well, and Pro Football Focus would agree, Connor McGovern. He did start the game at left guard. According to Pro Football Focus, he had 15 pass blocking snaps in this game, did not allow a pressure. And in fact, Landon, I don't know if you knew this, but he's had 81 pass blocking snaps this preseason, has only allowed one pressure. So for a guy that we haven't seen play a preseason game in 2019 or in 2020, seems like he's definitely made a leap. Now, is he a starter? No. But if the Cowboys need him to start, it might not be that bad of an option.
Yeah, I think that's clearly what this whole thing was about, right? It was about trying to get him opportunities to get on the field because they liked him. I think we've heard talk about potential trade rumors with him and that sort of thing, and that's kind of why they wanted to try to figure out the Connor Williams, Connor
McGovern, Tyler Biadasz, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because they I think they wanted McGovern to be kind of the next man off the bench, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of think that not to change gears here, but I kind of thought that Matt Farniak, who played next to him the entire game, really played well. Was able wasn't. I think he had one kind of not errant snap, but a little bit off target snap. But outside of that, was blocking well, was getting movement, was sealing guys off. Not a guy that's going to make the active roster, but a nice little practice squad guy, right? Yeah, and maybe what that is that he's your practice squad guy, and look, he's developing, he's getting better. So maybe by mid-season he could be the guy that you consider to be your backup center if you need to. And again, let's kind of think big picture here, right? Like Connor Williams is a free agent. If the plan is to let him go and to have Connor Williams take his spot at left guard, maybe Farniak becomes your swing interior guy next year, right? Because he obviously has some experience at center. If he can become that kind of interior guy, now you don't have to spend a pick on that in next year's draft, or you don't have to spend free agent dollars. So it's been up and down for him, but I do think he's gotten better as the preseason has gone along. Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right, let's get to some other guys that you sent me over some notes on guys that you thought were winners and losers. How about my guy, Israel Mukamu? I don't know if you saw the piece from Pro Football Focus this morning where they compared him to Kevin Durant. They think he's it's pretty fun. It was his agent who compared him to Kevin Durant. I don't know why everyone's giving poor Trevor a bunch of let's relax for a second. But I like it. Mukamu had an interception, which was a really nice play, I believe by Rondell Carter, created the pressure, but Mukamu continues to make some plays. He's not perfect. He's certainly pretty raw, but I like him. What do you think? He had a very good and a very bad game, both. Honestly, like he played well on defense at different points. I'm pretty sure that he had, was it 3 penalties in special teams? It was not worry about that. At least 2, right? He had it was not great. 2 holdings. So he's a guy that I think played pretty decently on defense, but on special teams kind of had a rough night because of the penalties. So, but yeah, obviously the interception was in the right spot at the right time, made the play on the ball. And I think the Kevin Durant, comparison, and I'm not a basketball guy, but the Kevin Durant comparison is the idea that he is a utility player. He can kind of be plugged in to do a lot of different things on your defense, right? He's not just a safety that you're going to put in the box. He's not just a guy that you're going to cover tight ends. He can do a little bit of everything. So comparing him to maybe the best basketball player on earth is probably not the best way to kind of tamper down the hat. Let me ask you this: do you think he makes the 53-man roster? I do. I've had him on my 53-man roster for a while. I think they like him a lot. I think he can do things. Like I said, he does have a level of versatility that is rare. When you're a former cornerback who's that size, clearly you can do safety things. You can cover tight ends. If you needed him to, he could step down and cover in the slot. I bet he could probably even be, an emergency corner in a case that you actually needed him in that capacity as well. So I have him on my roster. He had a rough special teams night, and I think he needed to have a good special teams night. But I think that he's still done enough to earn a spot on this roster. I'm certainly not trying to see if he can get through waivers. Or
that's the way of Darian Thompson to do all that special team stuff, because we need a guy that can actually play safety, and that is Israel Makamo. I'm joking. All right, let's talk about some other guys that played well in this game. Ben DiNucci, I mean, we kind of mentioned him, but he wasn't terrible, right?
He was better. He was better than he was last week for sure. Again, he's playing with down roster guys. I think there was a couple times when routes were run that I wasn't sure that they were on the same page with what route was supposed to be running. I don't know that he got bailed out so much by his guys. I thought he played a better game than last week, but it's still, he is who he is to a large degree.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on Ben DiNucci. Let's get to some other guys that are a little bit more fun. Luke Gifford, this is somebody who we've not said a lot of nice things about so far this preseason, but I think this was definitely his best game. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, he hasn't done a ton in the training camp. He's getting a lot of praise by the broadcast crew, and I'm like, I don't know, man. He has not done a lot of the training camp that's been positive. And even in last night's game, there were times when a lot of his tackles were, 4 and 5 yards downfield.
We call that the Jalen Smith special, but yeah, go
ahead. So he's I think that he's probably, making a last-ditch effort to try to make the roster. I guess I wouldn't be shocked if he made the roster because
he does play a lot of special teams.
Yeah, and he does have, clearly some sponsors on the team. That some guys that really like him.
I guess it's from the front office, but
probably.
He's one of those guys I could see going or staying. It wouldn't even shock me if he just, if let's say he's cut and the Cowboys offer him a practice squad spot, and if he's just like, you know what, there's so many guys in front of me that they've invested more draft picks in. I'm just going to go somewhere else on a different practice squad where I can get to the field quicker. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But I do think he had a better game. Just to run through a couple more guys, just really quickly, Landon. Maurice Kennedy.
Yeah, just solid. Again, just he had to play a little bit more than probably he was expecting because of Joseph's groin. But he went in there and was solid and made good plays on the ball, and looks every bit the part of the guy that's he's a lot like Hamilton, where he's a guy that I think a lot of us didn't really have a lot of plans for, or didn't really know exactly what his deal was going to be. But now I'm kind of excited to have him as part of a rotation in that group and as a list of guys that will get to see some snaps. I would say most every Sunday.
Next one, Brian Anger, the Cowboys punter. He had a really, really good day.
I don't know why they're talking about Johnny Hecker, honestly.
Well,
I know why.
4-time All-Pro punter.
I know, but he hasn't been kicking that well these last few years.
Yeah.
And Anger has been on a absolute tear this preseason.
Well, and I mean, we know partly the reason why that the Cowboys are interested in Hecker, right? He's obviously a bones fossil guy, but he also leads the league in fakes, right? Like he's one of the best fake punters that's not the right word. He's one of the best punters in the league at executing fakes, right? So we'll see what happens there. Rondell Carter.
I mean, again, just showing more versatility. He did cause that interception that we talked about with McCool. He's playing inside a defensive tackle and was able to get a move on a twist, get himself free. And at least 2 or 3 other times I saw similar things. He just does something every single time he's out there with the guys that are seemingly down roster guys that makes me think that he's an echelon above them. So I have Carter making my team. I don't know if he will or not, but we'll see.
All right. So Landon, this weekend was great because there was college football on. I've got 3 TVs set up in my basement so I could have all these college games on. I was watching high school football. And the only reason I can do that is because of DirecTV. DirecTV Stream brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there's absolutely no annual contract. So stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That is directtv.com. I've been a big DirecTV fan for a long time, so I'm always happy when they come and sponsor the show. Another sponsor that we absolutely love is Built Bar. Built Bar is the absolute best tasting protein bar out there. It's hard to even explain it, real chocolate with amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste fantastic. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, let's talk about some guys who struggled. Burton. It's Deontay Burton, correct? Yeah, that's how bad it is. I already forgot his first name. Deontay Burton. I just want everybody to just remember how bad things were last year, that he actually played. Like, he was actually somebody who the Cowboys were relying on last year in a regular season game and not the fourth preseason game. But this was a rough one, Landon.
He played 21 snaps last year. I tweeted this out. He played 21 snaps on defense, not special teams. He played 21 snaps on defense last year. He was – look, I'm not trying to bury people, but Burton, you're about to get buried. He was unbelievably bad. Like, he was missing tackles on special teams. He was missing tackles on regular play. There were penalties. There were missed opportunities. There was, just every single they were just picking on him at some points.
Yeah.
At just point, when he got in with the ones, like the rest, that portion of the game basically became viewable. Unevaluable, because you can't evaluate it, because this guy was so much worse than everybody else. They were just hitting him. And it was like, okay, it's kind of tough to evaluate the rest of our roster when you're just picking on the obvious guy who's the down roster guy. So it was just an awful game. And frankly, I was watching it at a certain point and felt like he may play his last NFL game. Like, it was that bad.
I felt bad because that's your last chance to even just make a case for a practice squad. Yeah. And let's talk about the other corners. Kelvin Joseph and Nahshon Wright. They both made a few plays in this game that have you encouraged. But I think in general, both these guys probably had their worst game in the preseason, right?
Yeah, they were in a tough spot, again, because they were facing the Jaguars' number one group. And that's not so bad because receiver-wise, because they need to face those guys, right? But I think the problem was each one of Joseph and Wright got burned on a situation where Lawrence had all day in the pocket to throw that football. All day. And Wright got burnt on a double move that his eyes got caught in the pocket. And Joseph just got beat on a 9 route that was just thrown very well. He did have a little bit too much separation on him, but it was also a very good throw with a lot of time to throw as well. So I did like how Wright was able to bounce again. This is what we want to see. We want to see them bouncing back from this stuff, and Wright bouncing back to knock down that third down slant that the wide receiver probably flattened a little too much, to be honest. And then Joseph making that tackle out in open space to save a first down. I think they're rookies. They're going to take lumps. It's going to be up and down. And this is kind of where they are. I put them both down, I think, as having a negative game or just a slight negative game. But it wasn't. It was probably closer to okay than it was bad. I think they took some lumps for sure.
Well, they looked like young corners is what it really came down to, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the expectation, right? Is that these guys are going to get burnt. At some point, that's just what it is. Can they consistently bounce back and not just be Deontay Burton, where they're getting beat over and over and over and over again?
I do want to point out one play that each player made that had me actually encouraged. So there was a 3rd and 4 where the Jags ran a slant, and McCool broke on it, made the play, incomplete pass. Like, that's what I was worried about. Like, does he have the twitchiness and the quickness to make those plays? So that was encouraging. And then Kelvin Joseph had a really nice open field tackle. And I know tackling was never like a weakness for him, but he's going to be tested whenever he's in there. So going out and being able to tackle is what you want to see. So I was encouraged by those. They both need to be more consistent. I personally, Landon, if it was up to me, I kind of hope these guys don't play at all. Like the first 2 months of the season, like let them sit, let them kind of see the speed of the NFL, get 24 more practices under their belt, because I think it could be a little rough early on in the season for these guys.
I think they should be subbed in situationally.
Okay.
You know, like I think that
fine.
if you wanted to put Nahshon Wright in there in a goal line situation, right? Like, because I think there's less room for him to have to cover. You know, he's got a sideline and a back end line to kind of help, you know, corral his area, and that would make him useful because I think he has some value on the edge in that situation, and kind of limit his weaknesses. You know, and I think the same with Joseph. I think there are situations that you can put them out there that protect them, you know, but also give them valuable reps so that they can continue to get better, because they need snaps for sure. But You're right. We don't want to necessarily throw them out there and expose ourselves, you know, with young corners against Tom Brady and, you know, the guys.
Yeah. Any other losers you want to mention other than us for having to watch this game multiple times?
We you know, no injury bug. Unfortunately, it was squashed, you know, because of Joseph in his.
Doesn't seem like it's major though. It might knock him out a couple weeks, but it's not anything major.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like there was a ton of other injuries, so that's pretty good. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think the big loser is everybody who watched four quarters of a preseason game, fourth preseason game twice, right, which includes you and I.
All right, before we go, any big surprises, cuts, trades from the Cowboys in the next 24 hours?
Well, we're hearing from a friend of the show, Jeff Kavanaugh, from JC1053 on Twitter, that there is some rumblings that a guy like Bradley and or a guy like Brandon Knight might get traded, which, you know, can make some sense. I think, you know, those are guys who I don't know how everyone else feels about Knight, but I mean, I feel like they're guys that you feel like you want to keep on the team, but if an offer came along to give you a pick or something, that would definitely make a lot of these roster choices a lot easier for yourself. So I would definitely, and this is trade season for sure. So definitely be on the lookout for more of, and look at the Cowboys to be the receiving end too of these trades where, you know, they flip a low round pick for a guy that was likely to be cut. They don't want to have to, you know, fight on the open market. I've
heard the Cowboys are making calls for running backs and tight ends, and it makes sense, right? Because they have no running back depth on this team. Like Brandon Knox and Jaquan Hardy are fine practice squad guys, but I don't think they don't really do anything on special teams, right?
They both, well, I think Hardy had a tackle, which was nice, but they both proved to me that they're not ready to carry the football.
Right. And then at tight end, like Sean McEwen is obviously, he's not going to play till October, right? Blake Jarwin's still coming back from a torn ACL and doesn't really do anything on special teams. So I don't know how you feel about Jeremy Sprinkle. He's been a little underwhelming for me during the preseason. So that's just a spot that I would not be surprised to see them looking at. But that's another spot across the NFL. Like, there's a ton of teams that need tight ends, whether it's Baltimore, whether it's the Giants now that Evan Ingram's hurt, whether it's the Vikings. Like, the tight end depth across the NFL is awful. So I don't know if the Cowboys are going to be able to accomplish anything there.
Well, I actually think that they might, just because they're looking for a blocking tight end, right? Like, they're basically looking for somebody to get them through until McEwen comes back. And that's why, I mean, the only reason that Sprinkle was going to come back was honestly because McEwen got hurt, you know, and that they need to facilitate that until he gets back, right? So I would not be surprised if they were able to find somebody who was not a dynamic player, but could come in and play special teams and could be like a sixth offensive lineman on the field when he's there. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, those are definitely
keep an eye out. We'll see that one.
They're easy to find guys at the tight end position than the other type, for sure.
All right, so we'll be back sometime on Tuesday to talk about some of the roster cuts and moves the Cowboys made. We'll also do a show late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning for Hard Knocks. Then we got to start getting ready for Tampa Bay, Landon, in a week from Thursday. So busy time of the year. If you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, if you are a football fan, make sure you're following the show on Twitter at Locked On Cowboys so you never miss an episode. Follow Landon at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher. We'll see you next time.